Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. And what I have to first of all begin by saying is it'd be wonderful to find out about each of your experiences here at day one of the World Government Summit, and also an insight in terms of the organizations you represent. So please begin. Is this your first time here at the World Government Summit?
World Government Summit, and also in Dubai.
Oh, fantastic. Well, welcome, welcome. So do give us an insight.
Yeah, Dubai is amazing. World Government Summit is amazing. Thank you very much. It's very interesting to be in a place where the world is represented. Usually we show up at the tech conferences and there's not much women inclusion as much as I see around here, which is amazing. Lucky Robots, context-wise, you ask what's the beyond GPT. So we are saying we are creating Robot GPT. Robot GPT basically estimates where the robot is going to go after you give it a prompt. So make me a cup of coffee. It's going to give you 100 images, closing it to the coffee machine, clicking the button, and then coming back from the coffee machine. So yeah, excited to be here.
Fantastic. So again, from a kind of creative model such as Prane, that kind of artistry, bringing this in.
It's an amazing thing to look at. It's literally, it looks like or feels like magic, like ChatGPT. You ask a question and you get a paragraph back. You ask a robot a question and then you get images back. The robot is almost imagining going there and coming back. And then when you see it actually happening, I still have that.
Okay, fantastic.
That feeling.
And it's certainly going to be a very interesting sector to look at in terms of diving into this topic. Dr. Kim, now, of course, Samsung does not need an introduction, but in terms of yourself and your relationship here with the UAE and the World Government Summit.
So this is my first time to visit Dubai, and it's wonderful, and thanks for the invitation. So, and I'm doing my research at Samsung Electronics. I think Samsung Electronics is kind of different from other AI companies like OpenAI, Google. We are more in consumer side. So I hope I can talk more about how we want to use this generative AI technology into consumer side to help people really, yeah.
Okay, that would be, I think that's definitely worth a spotlight. So we're definitely going to be coming on to this. And Sachin, yourself, day one, end of day one, how has your World Government Summit experience been so far?
So I'd never thought on a panel I'd say I'm the local, but I'm actually probably the only local on the panel. I moved here in August after many first trips to Dubai for 2 years. It's my third World Government Summit, and it's really exciting to see the things that get discussed here because it shapes, at least I see a lot of the coming back to this moment throughout the remainder of the year. And I've seen this in the last 3 years. I remember there was a phenomenal roundtable last year on AI regulation. And then the whole of 24, you saw those things sort of pop up. I think sort of with respects to Builder, we started the company with a very simple mission, which is we want to power the world to be able to create and deploy software so that they can stay relevant, so that they can unlock their potential. And our belief was that 90% of the world was not technical, but 100% of the tool set that existed was for the 10%. And just to give you a sense, when I speak to most of our customers, they think Java is a coffee bean you buy at Starbucks. They use a calculator with Excel. So I think that's the base case. And our dream is, how do we help the next billion ideas come online without them having to write a line of code?
No, that's really interesting. And the reason I open with that question is because I think it really helps us frame why these platforms are really important. Meeting each other, bringing people in for the first time into the UAE, but also, as you say there, Sachin, it really does set the stage for what happens throughout the rest of the year and beyond, some of the kind of key trends that you saw here in the past. What was that interesting matrix that you said? You said 90% of your customers...
So 90% of the world is not a subject matter expert when it comes to software. But 100% of the tool set that exists today, SaaS, no-code, low-code, generative AI, it's designed for experts, almost 100%. And so what you have is 90% of the world saying, I want to be relevant, but I don't know how, without an expert being needed.
So that's possibly a really interesting launch point if we're saying that actually we want to make this super accessible to all of the world, put the technology in their hands. Perhaps if I can bring in Dr. Kim on this point, Samsung is putting the technology into the hands of so many people along with other providers. What are some of the key things that we need to be thinking about? The focus of this session being beyond GPTs, pioneering AI for the next era of intelligent experiences, what should we be focusing on?
So I think many people heard about GPT, new models, and models. But as he just said, actually, model is just one part of this AI. Actually, it is mostly developed by expert academic researchers and so on. But how to deliver this power of AI to consumers of everyday life, that is slightly different. Even though it is powered by advanced generative AI technology, but it should be delivered to customers so that we can help people. So there are big gap actually. From the model to the customer, there is a big gap. It should be, let's say, for example, for Samsung, we are a device company. We have phones, TVs, and all kind of home appliances. How to use this generative AI technology to these devices to help people's daily life, that is actually another mile to go. We have to develop many technology, including tools, as you just said. And also, it is different from model itself. I just want to emphasize that even though it is by the advanced model, like a GPT or even DeepSeek, right? But actually, there is another factor of AI which will go to the market and go to the consumers and so on. And Samsung is interested in that area. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, you brought up the term there, DeepSeek. How is that shaking things up from your perspective?
Yeah, actually, the DeepSeek was kind of buzzword a few weeks back, right? So that, I would say in this way, so that advance in the models is something like it started with the language model, and then it goes into multimodal model. And then nowadays we are talking about reasoning, right? So the idea is that it's not just more like you just understand language and translate language. Actually, AI model itself is thinking, right? It understands all the steps to solve the problem and so on. And I believe actually DeepSeek was kind of surprising in that we thought that only OpenAI or Google, like a big company, can do that, but suddenly a Chinese company develop a new model. Of course, there might be a lot of exaggerations and so on, but still we see that the model itself is quite capable. So I would say that it's kind of, we know that it can be done only with the big computing powers, a lot of GPUs, big data centers, but I don't know how much exaggeration is there, but DeepSeek showed that actually it is capable, it can be done with much smaller effort. That was the good thing. Another one is actually the open source, right? That they opened entire models to the public, so even academia can follow their model and develop the very capable reasoning models. That is another big impact on the industry. So I would say that it's a good direction, right? So it's not just one or two company, but many companies, university can invest their effort in developing algorithms and so on. So that my expectation is that there will be more open weight, open source model will be available. And then again, it's going back to, it is not anymore the model itself. It's very important, but another mile is that how to use these models to help people. We should focus on that. It's more like a changing point. It's a tipping point that from the model to the applications. And the robot can be another big application.
Yes. I was just about to say, I think that seamlessly allows us to bring in different. Now, Dr. Kim's outlined quite a few key points there about the future being providing more open source, more kind of modals and accessibility. From your perspective, Lucky Robots, what do you foresee when the next era?
I mean, just in the same context, I started my company because it wasn't accessible to me. I started Lucky Robots because literally the robotics engineer that I hired told me to buy a robot that cost $50,000. And I was like, what do you mean I have to buy this to train it? And then I started a robot training AI platform that only works in the computer. So basically anybody can train any robot just using their computer. So that's why the genesis of the company. And
did it exist elsewhere?
It existed in a very poor form, and it was just looking like 1995 computer game, and no one likes it. So Lucky Robots looks like it's real life. So when you stream images from Lucky Robots, AI thinks it's real life. So it's very like indistinguishable. If you look at it, if I show you one picture coming out of the platform, one picture from real life, you would not know if that's the case.
So the old era was someone said to you it would cost $50,000, and this next era, what are you saying? What are you outlining for us?
What I'm saying and what we are building is basically if you see anything online tomorrow, and it says not tomorrow, but figure of speech, tomorrow that says, hey, I made a robot that juggles 3 balls, and it's Toyota XYZ robot or Samsung X1Z robot, then you'll click download. Our simulator will open up the robot with the environment, and you will see, you can prompt the robot. You could say, go make me a sandwich, and then see if that robot actually makes a sandwich. Then you can use the same model and train it to cook you a dinner. So basically use that model as the base model and then fine tune it towards your own simulation. So I guess we are all doing the same thing here, making it accessible for the people of the world, because right now robotics is only done in private company labs, university labs. Like if you don't have access to actual robot, training them is really hard, and that's why Lucky Robots exist, and hopefully we're going to change that.
And there's certainly, when it comes to robotics, is revolutionizing the medical field. So as you say there, that keyword, accessibility, you really want to like broaden the accessibility.
Yeah. So if you don't do that, so my belief and the reason that I also started the company, that you cannot revolutionize a field without making it accessible to all the software engineers in the world. So if there are, for example, I don't know, 100% of the world software engineers, maybe 5 to 10% of them are AI engineers, maybe that's a maybe generous number. That needs to expand, and then of that 5 to 10% AI engineers, maybe less than 1% are working on robotics, and that's why you don't see any robots here. Like there is no robot at airports, at daycares, elder cares. There are so many amazing places that we could actually use them today. You could go to airport and say that, hey, welcome here. I will take you to your gate. Please put the suitcases here. Especially in elder care, you would have amazing companions. I don't know, from fruit picking, from agriculture to defense, there are so many applications that we could be actually covering. But since it's not accessible yet, it's not happening, and we are going to have a dent in that trajectory, hopefully.
Interesting. So I think Devrim and Dr. Kim, your answers really emphasize what Sachin was describing earlier on, that accessibility across the world. So we've outlined some of the pitfalls. What are some of the solutions in terms of scalability, Sachin, from your perspective?
So look, I think it's just so important to understand where we are in the journey. And what's been the real evolution? Right? The real evolution has not been transformer models. Computational conversation has been here since the 1930s. The first transformer model came out, 10 years ago, Bert? So what happened in November 22? Actually, the big shift was all about accessibility. We changed the user interface. We took the most complex piece of software on the planet, and we made it look like WhatsApp. And that's why you had both everybody could use it and mass hysteria, thinking people were going to lose their jobs. And where does that really boil down to in terms of use, the real use, right, and the real magic?
So just for a moment, are you saying when we demystified it, actually we kind of lost some of the magic? Is that what you're saying?
The magic was the interface.
The magic was the interface.
And what was the interface? Was people wanted to talk. People didn't want to click on a screen and use a mouse or a cat. They just wanted to be able to talk and got an outcome, right? And now we've seen that evolve so that you have interface within chat. But really, I think when you think about some of the wins and what we're seeing now is AI has this power to make humans superhuman. And really what it's able to do is reduce the amount of time and effort needed between idea and action. So for example, if you have an idea for a song, but you have no idea how to write new notation, you're not a great singer, and you don't know how to play the piano, you can still be a musician today. If you had an idea like an ours to build a piece of software, but you have no idea how to code, you don't know what AWS is, you think Java is a coffee bean at Starbucks, you can still build that piece of software. I think the second real usage is we have many industries, many departments where we don't have enough resource. And what you've got is the AI has the ability to remove tasks, not remove jobs. Remove tasks so we can get more out of every hour and we can go upstream and be more creative. And then I'd say the very last one, when you sort of think about the silver lining, is AI has this really strong potential to remove human variability. And that's really important, because the quality of any experience is as good as the worst person in the experience. And if you can remove variability, you make every experience stellar, like booking an airline ticket, sorting out your utility bill, all experiences. So we actually are less agitated as human beings. We're happier. We have to do less repetitive work, and we get more outcome.
Absolutely, and I think some really astute points you make there, Sachin, in terms of the reducing the variability, but also identifying those challenges and thinking about those key solutions. Dr. Kim, to bring in your perspective from the Samsung research point of view, where could we be looking at in order to build these AI-driven ecosystems in a more collaborative sense?
So I do like echo what he said. The idea is that, again, that we try to build useful assistant using AI. Actually, the Samsung has been build phones for more than 10 years, right? And TV and home appliance even more than that. We always try to make somewhat more convenient devices, consumer devices. And we tried same thing many times, but actually we couldn't achieve the goal as we want to do. But with this AI, we believe actually we finally can deliver the level of, let's say, comfortness to the human, right? With just a phone, we can talk to the phone. Suddenly, I can book a trip for tomorrow, even without much of the touches. Actually, touch interface was pretty good, but even with this AI, generative AI, I think we can achieve much better than that. We might eventually build a complete AI assistant. Might be phone, a little different devices, but I think that is the final goal we want to do. And this new technology, I see huge potential, and that's what you want to do. That's again, I want to emphasize it, that it's not just the model itself, it's on top of model, we should have a SDK, we should have more devices, we should have more user interface. A lot more research should be done on top of this, but definitely this is a very important moment that we can deliver that level of our goal. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point that really echoes back to the panel that we had before this one, which was ROI investments in AI. And I want us to conclude on this point and give you all a chance to share your next critical step that you would encourage people to take away. What would be the main critical step that you think businesses should bear in mind when it comes to ROI investments, thinking to this next era of where we're exploring where we're going in the future? What would be your main big advice to them?
Sure.
Beginning with yourself, Devrim.
Businesses in general?
Yes, businesses in general. When we're speaking in terms of the next era, what would you say would be a good critical step to take?
I would first say that I'm the least qualified person to give a general advice to general businesses. But from the robotics point of view, robots are coming. In 2 to 3 years, probably the entire room will have one robot or two, or will have access to some of them. When you visit an airport, when I think planning for that would be a good idea. Like some of the worst jobs will be done by AI. And echoing Kim, first we are going to figure out, you talk to a digital device to get your plane ticket bought, then you will talk to a robot to get your groceries. Like that, actually it's the same device. So this one device, give it 2 arms and 2 legs, and it will start doing physical tasks. So it's actually the same technology, is just converging at some point. So if you have a business and if you can think about what robotics AI could help me now, if you can start thinking about that now before your competitors, I think that would be a good idea.
And see, I think you're being far too modest, because you already have given us so many ideas where robotics could be applicable to many different business scenarios. So thank you for that. It's a really good, important picture to end with. I'm going to come back to Dr. Kim, but if I can bring in yourself, Sachin, this idea of what would be a critical next step that businesses should bear in mind.
Look, I think we're at this just really interesting point of time where the things that used to take months or weeks, even years, can take hours or minutes. And when we think about deploying AI within a business, the most important thing is to make sure you have a goal why you're doing it, because therefore you have a measurement. And I'm a big believer in sort of a demonstration of this. And if you've got a second, I've got a song. And it's really interesting.
We can't possibly say no to a song, can we? It's the end of day one, so go ahead.
And then I'm going to ask you a question. So it's a 3-minute song. How much do you think it costs to produce? We're talking about ROI.
It's going to be something surprisingly, shockingly, crazily
$50,000?
small.
$25,000? The answer is $150. So when you really think about ROI, that's a real testament of what ROI is.
That's a really intriguing answer to a question. I'm liking this. I'm liking this. Dr. Kim, he's raised the bar very high for yourself. I began by asking our panelists here about what we should be thinking about for businesses, the next step. But you've already explained a lot of this already, Dr. Kim. So I'm going to ask you to widen the net, more of a collaborative framework, policymakers, government, in conjunction with businesses. What should be the next critical step that we should be thinking, bearing in mind when it comes to the next era?
So to answer your question directly, I'd like to give some ROI perspective, okay? So we've been studying investing this AI technology probably seriously for 10 years. So that even 2 years back at Samsung, we just invested without questioning ROI because we thought that it is so important technology so that even without return, we should invest. Still, we have that spirit, but I think let's say the business-wise, actually, we are changing our mindset somehow. And in the previous session, the guy talked about ROI, and actually, even within Samsung, we are talking more about ROI. Idea is that now it's time for us to see what is the return. Return can be productivity, or can be convenience, eventually selling our product more, and something like that. So I would say that more people are thinking about ROI these days, and even, let's say, OpenAI, they are investing a lot in, let's say, that inference hardware, because they think, this is my guess, actually, the cost for serving their model is getting higher and higher, and investors are talking about ROI. So I think it is, I'll just say that the mindset of business is changing these days. And hopefully, I think, but again, I'll say that AI has big potential, so that I think it is, if let's say the regulations and those things is kind of, I know it's important, it's very important, protecting our privacy, but at the same time, we should encourage more development and more research. So I really hope that by this time, it's because it is changing the business environment, so that let's make it more productive and more, I think, I'll say that protect this new technology so that human beings can take advantage of this new technology. And that is, again, that we need more collaboration. Just one company, one person cannot do this. We should collaborate together. So we should encourage the environment, how we can do it together for the better technology, for better human beings. Yeah.
I think that does deserve a round of applause. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time and your insights today. Thank you very much. Thank you.